Hey gang, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about coding a trading strategy. It's a really cool episode. It's an interview from one of our accountability sessions with a trader who is working on developing a strategy, coding a strategy, and the next step is going to be automating it so that it's running seamlessly and flawlessly in the background. It's a pretty good conversation about kind of the battles and the struggles and the what to do next part of it. And before we hop in, I want to talk about a little bit of a point that stood out to me in this conversation. In the interview, the trader talked about following through with the system and how kind of he gets a lot of satisfaction from developing the system and not necessarily the results from the system. And that's an interesting place for a lot of traders, because we live in this world where in one corner, it's the bottom line that's important, right? We need a successful strategy. We need something that produces profit. If it doesn't produce profit, what's the point? You should love what you're doing as a trader, but at the end of the day, right, you got to make money from it, or else it's going to be a waste of time. On the other hand, there's the idea from a lot of traders, including myself, when you first get into it, it's like, hey, I don't need to do something I care about. I don't need to do something I love. I don't need to do something I believe in. I just need to do something that makes money. And that's where you see a lot of traders kind of scrambling around the internet looking for like the secret strategy, or hopping in my DMs asking Akil, what book can I read to find the strategy that works? And I'm typing and deleting a million times. I don't really know how to answer that question without saying no books, but also maybe all books. And the truth is, right, you need a little bit of both. It's a mixture, right? You need to be, in life in general, you need to be inspired, right? When you are inspired in life, you are motivated. When you are motivated, you do the things that need to be done to get the job done, whether you want to do them or not. When you're not inspired, it becomes a job, and as soon as the job becomes kind of unfulfilling, you bounce and try something else. And that's one of the reasons we see a big turnover in trading. And in my trading career, I kind of went down this path where, again, I told you, I started with hunting the strategy, just looking for the strategy. And even after I got coaching from my mentors, I signed up, I wrote a check to this mentorship program, this coaching program. And my mindset was that, hey, these guys are professionals, these guys are successful. I'm just going to copy and do whatever they're doing, and I'll be successful too. But fact of the matter is, they were trading in a way that I really wasn't enjoying, or matter of the strategy that I initially chose, because I chose the one that would be easier to kind of pick up and follow. It was a strategy that I didn't really enjoy, I didn't really believe in. I was only trading it because I thought it would make money. So I did the bare minimum when it comes to testing. I didn't develop it, I didn't filter anything. I just, I wasn't inspired or motivated to do any of that stuff. And long story short, I ended up struggling for a long time. It wasn't until I stumbled across a strategy that really fit fit my philosophy in trading. It was something that I believed in. It was something that was interesting to me. It was something that I really got enjoyment out of doing. And when I come in every day and look for the charts, and look at the charts, it wasn't until I started trading that way that I really felt this sense of inspiration. I really felt this sense of being motivated without even knowing I'm motivated, to just kind of wake up and stare at charts and break stuff down. And because of that, I started doing all the little things in the background that are needed to make a strategy work, right? It's the same thing in sports. Not to make this kind of intro too long, but I think this is important. I'm on a roll here, right? My kid plays soccer. My oldest kid has been improving a lot. My youngest is probably going to be a monster. And the other day I went to this tournament, and I'm catching up with a lot of parents that were on the team from a year ago, and we're kind of discussing like, hey, which kids moved up, which kids moved down, how are they doing? And for a few of the parents where their kids moved down, the reason was because they just weren't practicing, right? They were practicing at the time of practice, so they were showing up to the paid practices that we go to, but they weren't doing anything extra at home. They weren't at home working on ball skills. They weren't at home watching videos. They weren't at home, watching live games and learning. And because of that, they were doing just enough, and they either kind of just were stagnant, they stayed the same, or they regressed. On the other hand, and this isn't a brag about my kids, but they're actually passionate about the sport. Again, probably if they're up about 16 hours of the day, I would say about 14 of those hours is spent kicking the ball, We're either kicking a ball at a park, they're either kicking a ball in the house against the couch, they're either playing a video game on their tablet or on the PlayStation, they're either watching a game, they're either watching YouTube videos. Like, they are obsessed with soccer, and because of that, they are doing all of the little things that are needed to improve. And I don't even know if they think they're doing it because they need to improve. They just love it, and they're improving because of that, as a result of all that extra work. And trading is the same way. When you play around the sandbox, when you dive in the charts and you do analysis and you make predictions on charts that you don't even trade, when you kind of look for different filters to add, when you test different things, not caring if it's going to work or not work. These are the things that make you better at trading. And these are the things that you're not going to do if you're not inspired and if you're not self-motivated. That's a long intro. Let's hop in.
Tell us how it's been going, mate. What have you been working on? What have you been? What's the progress update here?
Yeah, so I think similar to Dave, actually. Maybe caught up. Was it about November time? A bit of an intro, just kind of setting out my stall. I've kind of joined. I'm a beginner. This is my intentions. Again, found it a useful session just to get some obvious questions like, do you want to trade full time? I didn't have an answer to any of these kind of questions, and it's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes you need kind of push in and just see what comes out.
Yep.
So since then, I think I set myself up for going through the course, maybe coming up with some ideas, beginning back testing. With the idea that by middle of this year there'd be something where I'd say, I could run this system and it would be profitable or something like that. So obviously we're in March time now, and obviously things never go quite to plan. So approach to Christmas, I backed off the course a little bit, and I almost went down to the other stuff you were talking around in. I forget the program now, but essentially the goal setting stuff around planning your year or whatever. So I spent quite a number of days doing that and planning the year.
Awesome.
That again, a mixed bag. Made some mistakes. All the right intentions, but basically too much too soon. So they weren't really goals. They were more to do with improving habits, really. And I just stacked everything, did everything at once, and burnt out.
Okay.
Multiple times, in fact. Again, it's great to kind of notice those little psychological tells, so I know what's coming, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I know when things are not right, and obviously that I can see how that could affect trading as well. So anyway, that was kind of Christmas time. Bit of health problems in the new year, but like we're out of that now. The sun's shining. We're kind of in the coming into the spring. So regarding trading progress, I've made my way through the course. If it's possible to share my screen.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, it's great.
Okay,
there you go.
Try this screen. This screen here. So I went through the course. These are hand drawn, but I basically did some little cheat sheets for foundations. Kind of went through a few times. So this is what's this one? This is part one. It's interesting going back to them. Actually, I've noticed some mistakes and things like that. But the reason I did them wasn't to actually have a thing at the end of it. It was I wanted to do it for the process, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because if I can't condense it and consolidate it and draw it in a few pictures and a few words, maybe I don't quite understand it. That was my thought. Yeah, that was my thought process.
Absolutely.
So and I think that was interesting, just drawing the line. It's like, oh, did it violate? Did it not? Does it matter? All those kind of questions come out. So the result is a little hand-drawn thing. It's insignificant, but I think the value is in the process.
Amazing.
So that was one thing. And then just jumping over to TradingView, I was the one who asked the question. You did a Q&A, not a Q&A, you did a traders coffee break on is trading worth it? And I think, if I'm honest, I think you captured the spirit of the question rather than the actual question, which was more to do with progressing, moving forward, figuring out what's profitable and all those things. And that fed as well into another question I asked or I picked up on the Q&A from Akil to do with science versus art. Basically, I'm a software engineer, DevOps engineer, that kind of thing. Techie coder. And my problem, let's call it a problem, is I can't help but fall on the science side of science versus art. And I think it's led me down a bit of a path. So this, I've even written down some next steps, but I don't want to say them out loud yet because I need to pose the question, which is, I'm going down this road. I feel like there's loads of benefits. So I'm showing you now. I think my screen's still shared. So this is like an attempt to FTB. So this is pound dollar on the hourly, and you can see that it's not quite to the rules that you showed in the course, but you can see the green line goes upwards. It's obviously got some legs. There's something in it that's worth exploring, and to me, the coding of this means that I can quickly get that information about new ideas without manually going through. At the same time, I'm appreciating that if you don't manually go through, you're losing that eyeball. Excuse me. You're losing the eyeballs on charts, kind of visual thing, RAS, and all the rest of it. So I feel the urge to basically code everything, but at the same time, I think it's almost a distraction to. I could carry on down this road for a year and be happy coding and making potentially profitable systems, but am I missing a trick? Is maybe my question.
I don't think coding systems is a bad thing at all, because it does allow you to get very, very connected to the data, which then in turn gives you a lot of confidence, and it can be very, very efficient way of building a system. I totally get what you mean about it being a distraction though as well. Having the temptation to code everything is going to tire you out before you actually see results, and that might stop you trading before you actually see the benefit, or it might just become a bit of a resentment. So my advice would be, I mean, that for instance, that looks good on the screen, what I can see here. I know I don't know the first thing about it, but up until probably a third of the way through that chart, the equity curve doesn't look too bad, and 42.42% profitable. I don't know how much of a period that's over or anything like that, but what are your thoughts on what you've seen with it? Like, my question would be, why do you then code something else? Why are you then doing something new?
It's a good question. I think I'm only just kind of starting to think about that now, so I don't have a solid answer. I think what I'm feeling is, with kind of hobbies, things that you do, so you get that kind of satisfaction element, and I'm feeling the satisfaction potentially of the coded system versus the fact, regardless of the fact whether it was traded or not. It's like almost like the enjoyment came from the fact that I made
from the coding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why there's a potential for the distraction there. Going back to the other question about why not stick with one? Why? Because I've not shown you yet, but you did the force move at the trader show. So I caught the video. I've coded that as well, like multi-time frame analysis. And again, I'm kind of geeking out on the fact that I'm able to look at 3 time frames with one set of code, which is great. But if it doesn't, satisfy the goal or the need. So good question. I think the one with the FTB was I had to get a fairly smooth curve. I had to really open up those entries. I messed around there. Let me show you this. So this is the settings. Should be the settings panel. It's not showing up. It's not showing up for some reason.
If it's a pop-up, it might not show up.
Yeah, no worries. Basically, though, I coded up like all kinds of entries, tweezer tops, and all kind of signals, the thresholds for the candles, momentum loss, things to do with RSI, and I coded them all up, and basically nothing really affected profitability, as in percentage. Some things affected drawdown, but what I'm finding is this particular one works if you like. Basically, there's obviously something to the idea that during that window, if you short it, it comes out profitable. But you have to really go for all the opportunities to get the good ones. You know what I mean? To get the winners, and when they show up. If you can see the little white bars on the orange, so the orange is the time window, and then the white bars are the entries. So, for example, this orange bar here had 2 entries, and so that's stacking trades, like pyramiding. And you can see as it trails down, obviously you kind of and it stops out 2 orders there. So there's a risk management element to it. So you can't. The higher the risk, the more volatile the drawdown. So yeah, this is over about 3 years. There's definitely something in it, but I just got a bit nervous that so like I think if I'd press this deep, nothing seems to be working today. Never mind. But if I trade over a longer period of time, yeah, the drawdown's worse. It felt volatile, and I felt like I wanted a more, my first system on, I wanted to be a bit more stable, something like that.
Yeah. Understood. Okay, so in your head, what's the next steps?
Good question. Yeah, in my head, yeah. I think this one here, the force move, I wanted to finish. Yeah, like you said, I don't want to distract myself with other stuff. I want to finish them, even if that means finish them and say no, it doesn't work. I want to finish them.
Right.
Yeah, basically that.
Okay, well, just so you know, the force move that I went over in at the trader show, I had 25 minutes to basically get through that thing, and there's a lot more to it. There's a lot of qualitative, quantitative stuff that I didn't have time to share. So I gave you the basic tick sheet. But if that is something that that you've resonated with and you're building rules around it, just send me an email or something, and I'll see if I can send you the rest of what goes into that, and then I'll be interested to see what you develop as a result.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that'd be helpful. Yeah, so follow those couple of ideas. I'm just aware of the time. Then maybe a question I've got is, so this art versus science thing. I know that there's no such thing as a free lunch, right? So from a psychology point of view, if I kind of carry on this thing, it's essentially an indicator right now, but there's no reason I can't trigger automated orders.
No.
That put me in a position where, I've got, let's call it, in theory, perfect execution. I've taken all the ambiguity out of it. We're talking about rules-based systems. This is the at the high level of a rules-based system. Do you know anybody who's gone down this path? Like, it feels like in the T1 community, I'm not really sure. I feel like I'm going down a slightly different road to other people, and I don't know where it leads. Am I going to come unstuck? Should I just kind of back off this stuff and go on the charts?
No, there's plenty of people that are coding systems and doing exactly the same thing as you. Stuart's one of them. Stuart, it's gone blank. I can't remember his surname, but he's a guy who you should probably have a conversation with. And there's a load of others. I mean, have you reached out in the chat and said, is anyone into?
Yeah, I think the chats. I struggle with the chat sometimes because the history disappears, and it depends who's online at the time. Like, it's. I've met Ian. I think it's Bushell. I think he's
Ian Bushell.
He's doing some Python stuff. So we've had a little chat. I've actually had a chat with Greg about some of the RSI stuff that he's working on as well. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of reach out and connect with people.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the best thing to do. I got connected with someone at the trader show as well, who was a guy called Ivo, who's, I don't know if you saw the College of Traders there with Lee Stanford, but he's he was one of the developers behind their little bot that they've developed to trade gold. And I'm in some conversations with him. He's away till the 15th of April now, but again, it's a great introduction. And if you want me to introduce you to him, that's another, it's a great thing to do. I think you should keep following something you're inspired by. It will, if that's what means will keep you on a path in trading, because that is ultimately how you're going to find success, by staying motivated. And it looks like you're currently filling your time doing things that you're inspired to do and enjoy, and linking that to trading, which is great. It's just now it's time to start seeing some actual fruit of the labor. So I think a really good piece of advice would be to get it trading automatically. Then you'll at least see real-time results, whether it's demo money or real money or just a small amount of money or whatever. You're going to see it actually perform in real time. I think that'll be a good next step.
Yep.
And then, and then go from there.
That sounds great. Yeah, appreciate that. I'll crack on with that then. I'll send you an email about the not the FTB, the
Force move,
force move stuff. Yeah. Thank you.
Stuart Jones is the guy as well.
Yeah, no worries. I'll have a look on the chat from.
Awesome. All right, mate. Well, thanks very much for your update.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope you enjoyed the podcast. Hey, if you like these accountability sessions, we run them each and every Friday on the platform. You can come and do one, participate, or just watch. That sounded kind of weird, but yeah, you can come watch and be inspired by other traders. Check it out, www.tier1trading.com. That's the site. Great education, great community, great coaches. Come see for yourself.